Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully you can see my screen. Let me know if you can. This is my last week in South America, and my internet is just really flaky right now. So I'm not sure if you can see it or not. Doesn't look like you can. Is anybody here? Hey, Miles. Huh. This doesn't seem to be working. So I logged in like 2 minutes ago, and I'm still seeing a spinning wheel and can't even see that I'm projecting. So might be a very short session. I'm not sure I can do it. The good news is John will be back tomorrow. He's going to cover Wednesday for me, so he'll be here tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then I will be back at my office with first world fast internet a week from today. So this will be the last day that you have to worry at least about my broadcast being so slow and terrible due to horrible internet. Welcome to the third world. So I don't know if you guys can see me or what. Okay, so you guys see the audio and video. That's interesting because I don't see it on my preview screen. So I'll just assume then you can see it. Let's just go ahead and see what's happened. Well, we got the YM here. YM is long, heads up, 33,521. Hopefully you guys were able to pick that up because it just hit its targets. It definitely time to take the trade, just wasn't time for me to call it just due to the internet issues I'm having. So the stop is now at 34. So a nice way to start a Monday with the Dowie Mini hitting one and done on its first trade of the week. It's down 445 points. 1.33%, but the first winner out the gate, a long trade. It did just hit the stop, and everything's moving jaggedy for me. Again, I really apologize. Yeah, Donald, I'm actually using a US VPS right now, and that actually might be slowing things down. I'm not sure. I'm going through a US VPS, which I kind of had to do in order to be able to log in without jumping through a gazillion hoops. Verifying this, verifying that. Anyway, take a quick look at crude oil. Crude oil, not so great. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Clearly not what we want to see. But let's go back to the actual start time of 9 a.m., which was, yeah, crude oil, clearly not good. Well, all right, it got long here on the trade off of the 20 SMA, right? That was long at 81. Then there was a stop and reverse at 67. So 67 with a stop of 88, and it got as high as 87. And of course, another stop and reverse adjustment would keep you short. And that one comes all the way down and actually hits its targets. So you have to go to targets 2 and 3 because target 1 becomes too small. And it actually didn't do as horrible as I thought. Long at 81, short at 67, which is a 14 tick loser, but then hitting a 16 tick winner to target 2. So, I mean, those 2 trades, call it a wash, break even, whatever. So if you were able to stay with that sequence, that probably helped you, because then it got dicey after that. As you can see, the blue trade, that one stopped out. Yeah, that's already 3 trades in the mini session, so I can't even scroll smoothly, you guys. I'm really sorry. So crude oil, not so horrible. Call it a wash. Maybe a small loss. All right, unleaded gas. Now I'm waiting for the spinning wheel. Yeah, I can't do a trade room like this. So unleaded gas actually was one and done. The nice short, couple opportunities to get short, and then hitting its primary target 1 of 34 ticks and missing target 2 by a couple ticks and then stopping out. So not a horrible way to start the week. If you're doing the standard spotlight trade plans, you're doing pretty good. The YM one and done, RB one and done, crude oil 2 and a wash, maybe slightly underwater depending on how you handled it. Soybeans 830. You had a few seconds to place this trade, maybe over 10 seconds. I mean, that should be enough time. That's one and done on soybeans, finishing really quickly, hitting its targets 1 and 2. So that one and done. If you want to trade with as little time as possible and win a lot, then this is a trade plan worth working on, because you literally get in and out and finished. I mean, that was less than 30 seconds. It was tradable, but you had to be on your toes. And done. It's worth it. Keeps winning. Good morning, John. All right, so we're 6 minutes in. Probably should have paid attention to... This is actually a counterpunch chart of the NQ. We could look at that if we want. I was looking for catapult, waiting for that 4 minutes, and then the NQ, and there it is. So the 4 minutes with a nice trade. Pretty big target 1. You got to consider that as a target if you can get 15.5 points. Target 2 just barely missing, and the stop moved up, but there was a stop and reverse. I don't know. I wasn't watching it. Might have been too fast, but that's a really nice trade. If there's any way to trade that, let's see, 07. Nah. Too fast to trade. That's too bad. It's a crazy time with the Russian invasion of Ukraine and trying to trade the micro NQ. Already 750,000 shares. It's amazing how this has exploded in volume. Let's see if Counterpunch gives us similar opportunities, but more time. This one I'm not sure about waiting the 4 minutes, but there's no trade, and then there's that one. Looks like the same trade as Catapult. Yeah, it was the same. Yeah, really no time to execute on it. So, I think that's an ad. Yeah, it's just too fast. Too many bars hitting all at once. Makes for nice art to hang on the wall, but when the market's trading this fast, you can't trade it. Not with this chart. At least not at the moment. If anybody's having any success with that chart, let me know. Good morning, Michael Embry. By the way, let me be the first to sneak out an announcement. I'm going to send an email out later today, but my second book, Forex Quick Start Guide, has just been released, or is being released today. Today is the first day, and I told my publisher I would come into my trade room, tell you guys about it, and then see if anyone is interested in doing what they call an editorial review of the book. You get a free copy of the book, and if the publisher accepts your editorial, I don't even know. I guess they accept it. I mean, I'm not sure if it's even something discretionary or not. They're just asking me to see who wants to do an editorial review, and if so, you get immortalized on Amazon reviewing my new Forex Quick Start Guide book. So if anyone's interested, let me know. Send me an email. Get the publisher in touch with you. And yeah, so there you go. Of course, my day trade quick start guide is still a top seller on Amazon, so that's pretty amazing to me. I never would have in my wildest dreams imagined that. So now followed up with a Forex. It's sister book, the Forex Quick Start Guide. If anyone is interested in doing an editorial review, please let me know. You can send me an email. Okay, so where are we at? Does anyone have any questions about anything? I'm assuming you guys can still hear me, although I don't know how long it takes for you to actually hear what I say after I say it. Oh, great. Thank you, John. I think that you responded about 20 seconds after I said it, maybe. I'm watching the clock just to see. And another announcement, our Spotlight FX Alert service, if you hadn't heard, has broken out to new all-time profit levels, almost cracking the 25,000 pip level. Kevin told me we broke 23,000 pips, and then like 10 minutes later he said, oops, nope, it was 24,556 pips. The high watermark so far for Spotlight FX Alerts. So I thought maybe we could look at some of what's going on with that. Kevin's charts are basically the same as mine, although he has a different data server on TradeStation, so it's not exactly the same. Even TradeStation gives different data depending on what server you plug into, so it could be half a pip off, and that changes things, so it's not totally perfect, but it's just been amazing how well Counterpunch has been working with these Forex day trade charts for years now. For years. Obviously, there's going to be times when Forex goes into its holding patterns, its malaise, like this sort of thing. But even this works its way out with Counterpunch most of the time. The way I've got this set up, I'm asking for additional confirmation on the entries and the stops, and I definitely give up a little bit of profit potential, but it gives me added protection and bails us out on some noisy patterns, because Forex could definitely get into that balance where buyers and sellers are pretty evenly matched, and that's usually when you're going to lose money. But for example, we had an amazing run on the Euro Aussie, and then back in late last year in December, the short here, and this looks like it's really awful, but if you think about it, this actually made money. It never got to a target, but then it stopped and reversed. Call it a break even. And that purple trade came up and broke even as well. So it looks terrible, but it's really just two break-even trades. The green trade canceled and never triggered in. Then the purple trade triggered in, and that one, I mean, it barely missed target 2. Counterpunch is so accurate. Barely missed, but that was still good for a 218 pip profit. And then this short, and now hitting target 1, 279 pips. Looking like it's got a good chance of hitting target 2, breaking through support. You can see all the support down in here. Price is falling. And this is how good Counterpunch is. I mean, it literally mitigated this garbage action and didn't really cause much harm at all. Now, that's not always the case. We're going to get a few losses from time to time inside of a pattern like this. But when it breaks out and goes on its huge runs, which Forex can do, it can go on some pretty big long-term trends. It's like a big ocean liner picking up steam when you've got a, these daily charts get on a run. And usually it happens when the world order changes, or the perception of that, the world order changing. And with, of course, inflation being what it is, COVID, is it ending? Is it not? No one knows. That's kind of what probably this had to do. Who knows? I don't even begin to understand what causes the indecision and the balance in the market, or the off. Well, the off balance I think is pretty easy to know, but it's sometimes counterintuitive. Obviously, the Russian invasion, but all those things throw the world out of balance. And when the world is out of balance, Forex is like water flowing to its lowest point, trying to find its level. That's what this is, the level, right? When it's balanced, this is like water leveling out. But ultimately, things start to disrupt in the world, and the waves start happening again, and that's what gives the out of balance big moves in Forex as it tries to find its level again. And that's why Counterpunch is so good, because the way Counterpunch works is it just identifies where the exhaustion is, and then the balance of power and price action confirmation. And Counterpunch is just always going to work because of that, and it's perfect for Forex. So that's why I wanted to point that out. Here's the Euro Yen. Also just been delivering just these amazing winners over and over, every now and then a losing trade. But I mean, when you get a trade like this, it hits all its targets and the big nice run. I mean, that's 1,000 pip or more trade right there, usually. Maybe not, but often it is. This would have been a winner here. It blasted through all 3 targets, but it wasn't, because by the time the setup happened and the confirmation occurred, it had already closed through its target. So that's just a non-trade. Even though it looks like it might have been a winner, it was a non-trade. But then it followed right up with the short, and it just came down. Look at those perfect targets. I mean, how does it know that? It's amazing how that works, time and time again. That trade there, 132 pips, 208 pips, 284 pips. More pips on the trailer. And it's because of trades like this that Spotlight, FX Alerts, keeps hitting new equity highs. Pound Aussie, lots of winners and occasional loser, etc., etc. Wanted to point that out. And then this one here, the pound yen, which I have the automation running, but this one, this was a mistrade just because of when it happened. I think the 23rd was, that was a Wednesday. That's not the I don't know. I forget. One of these was a mistrade, I think. I don't know. One of the charts went offline for a little while. But anyway, it should have been called. It wasn't. But for the most part, this plan continues to win at an 85% win rate. Like, I think a few years ago it was for 16 years. It's probably closer to 17, 18 years now. Just a random look. Power of the automation. And what makes this trade plan unique, if you don't know already, $85 net profit per trade, but we'd have to look at the size. I think that's, I don't remember. Yeah, those are mini lots. That's pretty good for a mini lot. 4 of them. Anyway, what makes this unique is that it only looks to take trades at the 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. setup bar. So the trade has to happen, and you click on the setup bar and you can see 1600, 4 p.m. Only the 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. setup bar. It ignores all the others. And for whatever reason, that was the magic formula for this trade plan, and it was the automation that helped me discover that. And another thing that's unique, and I'll point this out too, and this is a little known tool that comes with Counterpunch Trader, not Counterpunch Express. It's more advanced. It uses what we call the incremental entry and the incremental stop, and that's just that's a synonym for average true range. So it takes the average true range with a certain formula using a length of 7, not 14. 14 is the default for average true range. This cuts it in half, makes it, twice as fast. And then it applies a multiplier. So you take the average true range of the setup and you multiply that number by, for the entry, 0.55, and that number gets added to the setup bar, and that's where the entry is. So instead of it being like 2 pips or 8 pips or whatever, like Counterpunch, instead it's a dynamic entry depending on the value of the average true range at the moment of time that the setup happens. And then it uses the 0.55. So it takes the average true range times 0.55, and then you add that to the high of the setup bar for a long, or you subtract it from the low of the setup bar for a short, and that's the entry. So the entry is sometimes a little bigger, a little further away, a little closer. And then on the stop, it uses a bigger multiplier, 2.8. So it takes the average true range, more than doubles it, almost triples it, and then that becomes where the stop is. And so that's dynamic dependent upon what the average true range has been over the last 7 bars, the average of that range over the last 7 bars. I don't know about you guys, but I find that fascinating because this was the magic formula along with the time of day, right? The 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. setup bars that has produced a trade plan that, literally when I came out with this 8 years ago, maybe longer, when I first came out with Counterpunch, it already had a 10-year look back. So now going forward since then, and it still is maintaining that 85% win rate. This is only looking back to 2011. So this is looking back 11 years. But, it was 9 years ago when I came out with this. It was looking 10 years back, and it was winning at the same clip. I don't know about you guys, but that's not easy to find. You find something like this, and it's like finding the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It doesn't really exist. Usually trade plans are not going to hold up like this over all those years for so long. It's rare, even with a great strategy. And if you look at the performance report, or the curve, it definitely had its explosiveness up in here, and then it kind of just meandering up and down and had a little drawdown. But look at it now, climbing back, and it's almost ready to break new equity highs again. And even with this little piece in here, this little amount of time, it's still maintaining that 86% win rate and the 2-point profit factor. So wanted to point that out. That's also part of the Spotlight FX alerts, as you guys probably know. I'm not a big fan of the 4-hour chart, except this one. And this one's easier to manage too, obviously, because of the fact that every bar, it's only the 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. bar, and you can get in sync. So if you don't catch the trade, I mean, sometimes you have multiple bars to catch it. This one was at 8 p.m. and you could still get this trade all the way to here, basically. I mean, this is several days, the next day, you can grab it. You have all that time to place that trade. So even, you know, if you're going to trade something like this, you literally have to get in sync most of the time, unless you're just paying attention. Like this one here set up at 8 p.m., but it didn't trigger in until 4 a.m. But you just set the trade. You set the trade, you use FX alert, FX synergy, and you get, look at all these bars in here you have to get into that trade. Plenty of time. So that's called snapshot trading, where you just spend a few minutes a day, you look and see, is there a trade? Can I take it? Does it qualify? Is it the 4 p.m. or 8 p.m. setup bar? Has it hit its money management? No, it hasn't. Okay, I'll place the trade. Set up FX Synergy. It's all managed. Use a trade manager to do the work for you, etc. John Ford, why does this FX trade plan only work on Forex but not similar currency futures? Well, I've never tried it on currency futures. This is for daily charts, John. So if you were to use a currency future, the risk would just be way too large. You can't go smaller than a contract. I mean, I think they might have minis now, but there's no volume on them. So you trade a full contract, and just looking at, for example, we were looking at the euro yen. Let's look at it again. You'd have to have a trade with 182 pips or ticks or whatever of risk using a futures contract. Whereas with Forex, you can go as low as a micro, and you can tune your position size so that you risk your proper 2% or whatever your risk parameter is. So if you were to try to trade this with a futures contract, and that, first of all, is there a euro yen futures contract? I'd say there probably is. What's the volume on it? I don't know. You'd have to find out. Probably very low. So you have a low volume futures contract, if they even have one, which I don't know. I would think they would, with low volume, and you can't go smaller than one contract. So one contract, what's the value of the pip? Think of what the value of the pip is, multiply that by 182, and then that's got to be 2 to 3% of your trading capital. You probably need a 6-figure account to trade one contract safely of a futures contract with a daily chart. You see? Those are the reasons why. It's not whether the trade plan works or not, and I don't know. I can't say that it does. I would think that it probably would, because, Counterpunch doesn't care what the symbol is. It's the same principles. But also risk is a big deal, and volume. Flexibility of position sizing to tune your position size to your risk parameter. But also you want volume, you want to be able to get executed. And I chose these pairs for a reason. There's a lot more Forex pairs. We haven't changed anything since Spotlight FX Alerts came out 3 years ago? I don't even remember. Is it 2 or 3? Anyway, a while ago, right? And it's the same pairs. So, just to follow up on your same question that you were asking about currency futures, another question would be, well, what about the other currency pairs? There's so many more. We only trade, I think, 8 of them, 7 or 8, plus this bonus 4-hour chart I just showed you. Why not anything else? And these are the ones that just keep working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So those are all the reasons. I have other charts on here that I'm looking at that are not part of Spotlight FX Alerts, the pound US. There's some awesome trading, and maybe this would be an addition to the service. But when I first started the service and tested this out over the most recent, I think 5 years or whatever, it just didn't hold up. Now, since then, over the last 2 or 3 years, I would guess it probably did pretty well, because the pound US it moves really nicely, and you could just you could see visually a lot of great trades. But my way of thinking is that we already have something that works so well, and I just don't like to mess with things that are winning and working. I don't know, it's delicate. Obviously, it's easy to get recency bias when you look at these swings and how well Counterpunch is done with them. Of course, if you have Counterpunch, you could trade anything you want. Just do your testing and make sure you could prove to yourself it'll make you money and that you could execute on it. That's the most important thing. So another thing I'll mention really quick is that Romulus, many of you know of him if you've been paying attention to the Trade Hacking Club and some of the presentations we've done together, but he and I are teaming up on something and got a really exciting new service that I'm going to start leaking some information out on. But we've got this method that really fits into the Backpacktrader theme. It's a fast strike trade for stocks, ETFs, mostly ETFs, some options too, but it's designed to get you in and out quick and to win a lot, like a high win rate and a steady, impressive average annual return. And so my way of looking at it and the way I'm using it is trading it inside of a tax-deferred retirement account, because it's those kind of trades, right? You don't want to pay the capital gains or whatever. Build that account up with a real steady, solid win rate, and the kind of trading that just doesn't take any time. A trade that got in on Friday and literally sold in the pre-market. We'll be talking about that, but made 2.7%. I mean, less than 24 hours, literally. Those kind of trades. I mean, it's like a day trade, but it's not. It's a swing trade. It's interesting. Anyway, it's a unique approach. Really excited about it. We're going to be talking about that a lot coming up in the next several weeks. So stay tuned. Can't say too much on it yet, but almost ready to tell you all about it. So I don't know what else to show you guys. We've only got a handful of people in here today. I'll stay with you as long as you got questions. If there's anything else you'd like me to show you or to answer or to talk about, just let me know. I can't do too much just because of the latency issue, and it's just the internet's so bad, but you guys have been patient with me. I really appreciate it. I'll be back at my office next week. So I came down here for some specific reasons, business-wise. I was able to accomplish what I came down here for, and it was a really great trip. And now I'm just thrilled I came down here, but I'm happy to be going home too. The other night there was this gigantic electrical storm, like a lightning storm from my 21st floor balcony. I'm sitting outside. It's like 75 degrees out, wearing shorts, literally, and flip-flops, watching this electric storm from my balcony, lightning like nonstop. Literally every 1 to 3 seconds, the sky was lighting up for hours. It wasn't just for 15 minutes. It was for hours. I got some really cool videotape of it, footage of it, but just amazing. What an incredible thing. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. From the 21st floor too, just this amazing cityscape view in the dark, and then the lightning would flash and the whole thing would light up like day, and then the sky, it was just amazing. It was like you'd see it in a movie or something. That was thrilling. Not that that has anything to do with trading, but it does have to do with what trading gives you. Freedom, experience things that you may not have ever experienced before. John, it was amazing. When I get back and I have enough bandwidth to upload some footage, I'll put a short video clip up so you guys can see it. It was just phenomenal. And yesterday I took a day trip to Uruguay. Imagine that. Never been to Uruguay before, but now I have. And it was fun. What a beautiful place. Really laid back. I ate some fish that I never even knew the name of, never knew it existed. It only swims in the South Atlantic, in the Southern Hemisphere. And it was amazing. Anyway, all right. Now I'm getting off the beaten path, just talking for the sake of talking. Unless there's any more questions or anything else you'd like me to show you, talk about, or whatever, I'm going to end this. Don't forget, John will be here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. He's going to cover the crude oil report for me. Thank you, John. And Monday I'll be back. I'll be back with lightning fast internet, no pun intended. And now I have to wait like 2 minutes before you guys respond in case the latency is so slow. All right then. Don't forget, if you want to do an editorial review on my new book, send me an email. My publisher will get in touch with you. You get a free copy of the book. Everyone else, have a wonderful day. I'll see you next week. Bye.